American infrastructure, roads, bridges, airports, water treatment facilities, and what have you, is in a dilapidated state, neglected for decades. And all this is coming to a head. You can easily compare the airports in the United States with those internationally, right? You can compare LaGuardia, JFK, or LAX with airports that you find in China or Turkey or Dubai, for example. And the point will be clear to you. Okay. And to this point, ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Kamala Harris on January 4th gives remarks in Chicago on the Biden administration's infrastructure and economic policies. And this all has to do with a particular bridge being repaired, a bridge that's connecting Chicago with Indiana. And to introduce her in these remarks is the UAW, United Auto Workers president, okay? And the local union there, local 551 of the UAW, is represented in the audience. Now, let me just make a quick remark before we get to the meat of this. We know that there's going to be a lot of belt tightening when it comes to private spending. Businesses are going to be laying people off. There's going to be a lot of austerity going on. We're already seeing that in the tech sector, Google, Facebook, Salesforce, and what have you. And they are the tip of the spear. We know about the fact that interest rates are going up. This typically means that people are not going to be making investments, and there's going to be a contraction in the economy. And this is what the Fed wants, because the Fed wants the inflation to go down. Okay, so this is a perfect opportunity, is it not, for the government to pick up its responsibility and spend money in order to soften the blow that we're going to feel during this recession, soften the blow of the tightening that we're going to be having in the next couple of years. To that end, okay, infrastructure spending is the perfect place that the government should be spending its money with regards to the stimulation of the economy. But let's get right into it. First of all, the UAW president is going to be introducing Vice President Kamala Harris, and we'll get into the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's play this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Penna, and I'm the union president of UAW Local 551, where I represent over 7,000 auto workers at Ford's Chicago Assembly Plant. And we've been building cars for over 100 years there on the Chicago South Side. The workers and our part suppliers rely on these bridges and roadways that this infrastructure project is building. I am born and raised on the South Side of Chicago, a neighborhood steeped in history of communities organizing for change, and home to a critical juncture on the Underground Railroad, a pathway to freedom we honor today. As a proud Latino and second-generation auto worker, I am right from this community. I know firsthand that these bridges are key lifelines to our economy and daily living. With today's announcement, it is also clear the administration understands our needs and the importance of this bridge and reliable infrastructure. This administration is committed to investing in good-paying union jobs, and that commitment shows here today. Our Vice President, Kamala Harris, grew up in a union town and knows the importance of investing in this great country's infrastructure. I am honored to introduce to you the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
All right. You have heard his words. He's a proud Latino and a proud union worker, emphasizing the importance of union jobs, emphasizing the fact that this administration is finally hearing the cries of union workers, and generally speaking, the attempt to fix the issues with the United States infrastructure. As I said, look, there's going to be a lot of belt tightening in the private sector. This is the perfect opportunity. There's been decades of neglect, dilapidated state, I mentioned, that the United States infrastructure is in, representing decades of neglect. And this is the perfect time for government to do the spending as a way of stimulating the economy, while we know there's going to be a lot of private sector belt tightening. Now, we're going to get into the remarks by Kamala Harris. And before she gets into the meat and potatoes of this particular infrastructure bill, this particular bridge, I should say, she's going to talk about some other things with regards to the economic plan that the Biden-Harris administration has to offer. Okay, let's get right into that.
After 2 years in office, I can say with confidence, we are building that better future.
Talking about her promise, right? Build back better.
We are building an economy, as President Biden often puts it, from the bottom up and the middle out. And I'll add from the outside in. With your help, we capped the cost of insulin at $35 per month for our seniors. That's about dignity. And it's about understanding that also allows our seniors to have more money in their pockets to pay for their retirement. We invested billions of dollars to make semiconductors right here in America so that factories like Ford and the plant here on the South Side can use American-made parts to keep assembly lines open and make supply chains more resilient. We will remove every lead pipe in our nation. Why? So that our children can drink clean water and grow up healthy to fulfill their God-given potential. And all of this brings me here today, the largest investment in our roads and bridges in 70 years of America's history.
As I mentioned, decades of neglect. This is the largest investment in 70 years in roads and bridges.
So just look at the 95th Street Bridge behind me. For many years, this bridge and 3 more nearby have served a critical role for communities in Chicago and Northwest Indiana. People across this bridge every day have traveled on their way to work or taking their children to school. For thousands of truck drivers, this is a part of their daily route. And dozens of times a day, these bridges are raised so that ships can travel from Lake Michigan all the way to the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay, so I was talking about the economic impact that this could have, right? In terms of the stimulus, in terms of the spending. Again, she mentioned in 70 years, this represents the largest investment. I don't know if it's in real dollars or not, but we do know that there's been a lot of neglect. Okay, now here is the even more important point, that this infrastructure is an important part of the whole supply chain, right? She just mentioned the bridges going up so that the ships can go through to the Gulf of Mexico, right? With good roads and good infrastructure, you get a good supply chain. You get those trucks driving nicely to deliver the goods to your stores, to the processing plants, or from the processing plants, or driving them to the trains where they distribute the goods, okay, throughout the United States. So the infrastructure is not just the infrastructure spending is not just a good opportunity to stimulate the economy in this time of downturn that we see. It is something that actually ensures that the future is more sustainable. And in other words, the future of the supply chain is more smooth. She also, prior to getting into the particular bridge here, mentioned a few things about what they're doing with regards to health, like with the insulin and the lead pipe situation. If you're living in certain parts of the country, such as maybe San Francisco or whatever, the lead pipe situation might not be an issue for you, but there are places in the United States where it is difficult to get clean water. Clean, potable, healthy water is still an issue in many places in the United States. So let us continue with her remarks.
Millions of Americans who have never heard of this bridge and will never cross it rely on products like meat and eggs that cargo ships bring across it, or drive a Ford car whose parts passed through here and was built by UAW 551. These products are made in America. This bridge is how they are delivered to America. But for decades, there's been an underinvestment in our infrastructure, which caused Americans to feel the consequences in ways big and small. Take the 95th Street Bridge, which was built in 1958. It has not had a major repair in decades. The result, detours and delays for families on their way home for dinner. Ambulances and fire trucks delayed when they respond to emergencies. And it means backups and load limits that waste fuel, increase pollution, raise delivery costs, and disrupt supply chains.
Again, the supply chain, very important when it comes to infrastructure. Bridges, roads, train tracks, airports. A good functioning supply chain is key, 100% key when it comes to the smooth operation of a nation.
It means supply chains that are disrupted, so much so that the result is empty shelves and higher prices at the grocery store for families, delivery delays for small businesses, suppliers that cannot fill their orders, and factories that run fewer shifts, which leads to cuts to hours and wages. The consequences of infrastructure underinvestment have been a familiar story in cities and states across our nation. About 43,000 bridges, almost 1 in 10, show signs of severe distress in our.
Again, these are things that we see over here in the United States. These are complaints that we've heard of over here in the United States. This, if it goes through, passes through Congress and all that stuff, will be the largest expenditure in infrastructure for over 70 years. And that'll be a great thing. That'll be a great thing in terms of jobs. That'll be a great thing in terms of stimulating the economy. That'll be a great thing in terms of smoothing the inefficiencies in the supply chain. Let's continue.
Our country. And you know, for years, people talked about this problem, but now I am proud to say we will finally fix this problem. Earlier today, our President Joe Biden traveled to the Brent Spence Bridge, which connects Ohio and Kentucky, to announce the first round of some $12.5 billion to replace, rehabilitate, and improve some of the busiest and most important bridges in states across our country.
Okay, so we're starting to get the point here. Promises are being made, and this is, as I mentioned, a good time for these kinds of promises to be made. It's a good time for public expenditure to go up when we know that private expenditure is going to be ratcheting down. Increased interest rates mean there's not going to be a lot of private sector expansion. It's very simple. When the rates go up, you're not going to be buying a home. When the rates go up, you're not going to be expanding your business. When the rates go up, you're going to need to lay off some people. You're going to need to make less speculations. We're already seeing the layoffs and the reduction in plans for expansion happening in the tech sector. And the tech sector is just the tip of the spear when it comes to the direct impact of interest rates, because typically that's where, in terms of venture capital and other forms of financing these projects, that's where the effects are immediately felt, okay, in terms of the venture capital not giving money to expand or to grow because the interest rates are going up. So this is the perfect time to do something which is already long overdue, which is to make some good investment into the infrastructure. But now let's get to the jobs piece, because there's jobs and there's going to be opportunities as well with regards to government contracts. For example, I'm currently participating in the California high-speed rail contract. Okay, I haven't completely cinched down my position yet in as far as taking advantage of what's the expenditure that's going on there. And one can say all kinds of things about the inefficiencies of the California high-speed rail project. It's not necessarily the best conceived project. And as we know, when it comes to government expenditure, especially in places like California, the prices are bloated. We all know the examples of how long it took to build the Empire State Building and how long it takes to build the original Bay Bridge versus how long it takes to just even make a repair on the bridge right now. Okay, so it will be great for us to see the government tighten the belt with regards to all the red tape and all these other craziness that makes it such that things are very expensive. But still, these are great opportunities for you and me and people whom are, for example, the union workers that are represented by the UAW Local 551 here represented in this speech, to reap the benefits of actual good work that will give sustainable good to the entire supply chain. So let's hear her remarks with regards to the jobs piece.
This is also about jobs. We will put thousands more Americans to work in good paying union jobs. Jobs for laborers, operating engineers, carpenters, and iron workers who will repair, weld, and restore these bridges. Jobs for Teamsters who will drive their trucks over these new bridges. Good jobs at good wages. Jobs people can take pride in as they build America's future. So I'm here today because this bridge represents a very simple point. When we invest in our infrastructure, we invest in our economy, we invest in America's future, a better future for workers, businesses, families, and communities. It's all connected. And so as the days go by, you will see it in a new coast-to-coast network of electric vehicle charging stations, or a new wind turbine or cutting-edge solar panel that will cut energy costs and protect our planet, or a new water heater in your home that lowers both your electric bill and pollution. The bottom line is this: President Joe Biden and I are making this better, brighter future real, and everyone here is an integral part of that. I thank you all. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Thank you.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about the long overdue overhaul of American infrastructure? Okay. And this begins with things in your home, like she mentioned, in terms of your water heater, the grid that powers your home, the network of chargers for your electric vehicles, the investment in solar, wind, and other green forms of energy. And most importantly, perhaps, the hard infrastructure such as roads, bridges, airports, water treatment facilities, all of which are in a dilapidated state in the United States. This is a great opportunity, given the fact that there's going to be a lot of tightening of the belt in the private sector, as I mentioned. This will soften the blow of the recession that we're going to be feeling in the next couple of years. So what are your thoughts? Are you hopeful? Will they be able to pull through? Will Congress be able to pass all the required funding? Or will they be gridlocked, given the fact that we see a House that is run by the Republicans, and then we have the Senate run by the Democrats? Or will there be a coming together for us to fund this long overdue overhaul of America's infrastructure? Go ahead and leave your comments, like, share, subscribe. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ike Ogiamian. Peace. We're out.